Another day, another module. This is a battery module out of a BMW i3 100% electric vehicle. Unlike some of the earlier modules I shared with you from BMWs, which were out of hybrid cars, this one here is actually from a fully 100% electric. We can see we have a BMS module attached to it here. Appears to be from a 2013 model year. And BMW i3. And let me tell you, this frickin' thing is heavy. So let's get right down to science. And let's weigh this frickin' thing. So there it is, it's on my shipping scale, 55.23 pounds. Can we convert this somehow to something else? There, it's 25 kgs. And I'm going to be a scatterbrain today. There's a lot of information I want to throw out at you. So as you can see here, it has these, what I would call pretty flimsy tabs to bolt it down. I think there's 4 of these, 2 on each end, obviously. And the way it sits inside the BMW battery pack, it is one of 8 modules. It's fine, it just bolts down, but I also think it's secured on top here with these cross bars, additional supports. Okay, there's some here and some here. But these are not through holes, unlike on the 530e hybrid modules, okay? So I don't know if I could hang these upside down like I plan on doing with my hybrid modules. So today I'm going to go a little bit off a script because I want to share a bit of information with you. As I pointed out, this is one of 8 modules in the pack. It appears that BMW improved upon these modules over the years. The BMW i3 in the States was available from 2014 to 2021, so 7 or 8 years. And the modules went through 3 different upgrades. So this is the oldest one from 2013. So I have it on here listed as 21 kilowatt hours. If we remember the prior videos, energy is measured in kilowatt hours and not just kilowatts. Kilowatts is saved for power, measuring the output of a motor, let's say, or of a battery charger. That would be measured in kilowatts. So then 2 years later in 2016, I showed that these modules were bumped up, or the battery pack was bumped up to 33 kilowatt hours. And then after that, it was upgraded again in 2018 to 43 kilowatt hours. Okay, if we jump back to the weight, I have it listed as 440 pounds for 8 of these. So at 55 pounds each, that would give us 440 pounds for all 8. And we need that all 8 to achieve the output voltage, the nominal output voltage of 360. I believe one of these, and we'll measure it, is only about 45 volts. And BMW lists the entire pack with the casing and the lid and all the orange cables as 515 pounds inside of it. Okay, at this point, I want to share with you that for some reason, BMW decides to list the capacity of these modules in amp hours, aux, if you will. So the equivalent of what I told you in 2014, it would have been 60 amp hours. Then in 2016, 94 amp hours. And then in 2018, 120 amp hours. So Let's talk about amp hours versus kilowatt hours. And them providing us with amp hours is like clapping with one hand, okay? That really doesn't tell us much. We need to know kilowatt hours. So what is the difference between amp hours and kilowatt hours? I like to explain that using the fuel tank analogy. So amp hours are like the size of your petrol tank, right? Let's just use even numbers. So if we say 60 amp hours, that would be like saying this thing has a capacity of 60 gallons. I know that's kind of really big fuel tank, but just bear with me. Okay, well, that's great. We have a 60-gallon tank. If you and your buddy were going to go on a road trip and she said, hey, how much fuel do we got? And you said, well, my tank is 60 gallons. She'll go, well, that doesn't help me. How much fuel is actually inside that 60-gallon tank, right? So amp hours are like the physical size or capacity of your fuel tank. It's how big your fuel tank is, how much it can hold, but it doesn't tell us what's actually in it. Kilowatt hours are simply amp hours times voltage. Okay, so in here I have a formula that 60 amp hours times 360, or usually the nominal voltage is what they're going with, will give us 21,600 watt hours, or 21 kilowatt hours. And so amp hours times voltage gives us kilowatt hours. And now we're seeing how much fuel is actually inside that tank. For 94 amp hours, okay, if our fuel tank is 94 amp hours, that's great. How much energy is actually in there? Well, it's 94 times 360 volts nominal gives us 33,840. And then for 120 amp hour gas tank, fuel tank, if you will, it's going to be 120 times 360 will give us 43,200. Also, I want to point out that whenever you see the lower case K, that just means thousand. It's a lazy way of saying thousand. It's a scientific way of saying three zeros. So you can say 21,000 watt hours, not mentioning the K, or you can abbreviate that and say 21, use the K, kilowatt hours. And guys, I know I'm telling you what many of you already know. I don't mean to insult you, but in case there are some of you jumping on an already moving EV bullet train, then I want to make sure no one is left behind. All right, so the lid is plastic and it just simply comes off. It rips off, no special tools needed. And now we can see the cells inside of this module. If we remember our building blocks, the smallest building blocks are the cells. The cells go into modules. This is one module, and then modules go inside a battery pack. So here, if we count these cells, and by the way, I've learned that BMW likes to use prismatic cells. There's three types that I know of. There's cylindrical. The Tesla uses cylindrical cells, and I do have a video coming up on the Tesla Model S battery module. We've already talked about Nissan Leaf. Nissan Leaf uses pouches. I believe BMW uses the third type, which are prismatic cells. And I know nothing about nothing, but those are the three types. So this is our positive lead right here. Positive. And if we count these, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So this is a 12S1P configuration. Yes, we are back to that. And funny thing here is I did talk about the three different types of cells, and that wasn't on my list. This is a piece of wood. This is a wooden clipboard, so hopefully I don't short anything out and it really doesn't go through to the other side. Are any of you the type that will add something to the list just to check it off? I'm going to put type of cells, miss my calling as a physician, and check. I'll do that. I'll go to the grocery store with a list of 5 items, and then I'll buy a dozen items, and I'll just add to the list in the store just so I can cross it off. Okay, so 12S1P, before we bust out the AA batteries to show you how they're configured in here, I'm going to do something different on this one, hopefully not get zapped. I'm going to color code these. So we know this is positive, and we know that simply because there's a little plus on here. I'm not sure if that will show up in the video. And there's a minus here, so that's really nice. So this is going to be the negative. We have to get from here to here. So here we go. So this is positive. I am going to color code it with red. I'm going to try to bring you guys closer. Okay, so that's our positive. It's red. And I can tell that this is a cell, and then this is going to be negative, so I'm going to color code it black. I don't think this is going to hurt anything. And then that one, here's our first bus bar, if you will. Bus bars are just metal bars. Now this might be copper, but it's probably plated with something. I don't know if it's nickel or something shiny silvery. But if we were to cut it or file it off, it might actually look copperish. Okay, so that goes to a positive. And then this too is a negative. And let's confirm if that's indeed what's happening here with a multimeter. Okay, so there's 2 types of voltage, AC and DC. So I'm going to put this on volts, and I think this is on volts DC, or this is on auto, so we'll pick it up. All right, so if you don't know anything about anything, put 1 probe on here, 1 probe on here, and this says 3.9 volts because these are, again, lithium ion cells, and those I call them 4-volt cells. They're anywhere between like 3.7 to like 4.1, 4.2. But what I'm showing you here is if we don't know which one's positive, which one's negative. So if we just guess and put 1 here and 1 here, if we get positive voltage, then we're good, and that looks like positive voltage. Hopefully you guys can see that. I'm going to reverse them, and let's just say I didn't know, and so I put my negative on this terminal, positive on this one. See how that says negative 3.9? So we know we got it backwards. We know we got it wrong. So that's how we can tell which terminal is which. So okay, back to here, and this is 3.9. If I jump this bus bar, it's still the same voltage, okay? It's still the same voltage there because this is connecting in series a negative to a positive, but there is no cell between here, okay? So this is still the same. 3.9 here and 3.9 here, okay? It's just a continuation of that cell. But if I move this over, hopefully you guys can see this still. If I move it to here, now we're jumping to 7.8. So we added another cell. So this is a cell, and then this is a cell, and there's 2 of them. But anyway, I just want to give you a quick tip on how to find which one's positive, which one's negative. It will show negative if you got them wrong, and shows positive if you got them right. Okay, and just since I had it out, let's measure the voltage of the whole shebang. So we'll go from this positive to the master negative, and it's 46.7. So I called it 45. But I think this will charge maybe to 48 volts, somewhere around there. Okay, let me go ahead and finish color coding all of them. So positive, negative, positive, negative. And then bus bar takes us here. And in series, that's what we're doing. We have to keep going positive, negative, positive, negative. Okay. And then we come across negative here, and then across the bus bar. And if this one is positive and this is the cell in here, we know this one's got to be negative. And then we follow the bus bar here to a positive, across, negative. I know you guys are at the edge of your seat with Chuck Norris jokes, so bust them out in the comments. Positive, negative. Follow the bus bars. Negative to positive. We know that's positive. This has got to be negative here. Follow the bus bar, negative. It's got to have a positive buddy. Positive. And this is glasses half full. Then across the bus bar to the glasses. Wait, that was glasses half empty. This is glasses half full. Trying to be funny here and striking out. Tough crowd, tough crowd. Negative across the bus bar to a positive. Negative across the bus bar to a positive. Again, this is a prismatic cell. It's this little rectangular thing. If that's positive, then it's got to have its corresponding negative buddy. We know we'll did it right if we end on a negative. So across the bus bar to a positive terminal, and then this one has to be negative. Yay, we did it. Okay, this has to be negative. Okay, if we put our probes on here and got them backwards, and the whole pack read a negative 46 or 48, we know that we reversed them and got the polarities wrong. Okay, but here we have it. Hopefully you guys can see the awesome color coding. Okay, Greg, give them what they all came here to see. The AA Duracell batteries. So this is 12S 1P. What the heck is 12S 1P? Just as before, 12 before the S means how many cells there are. Each one of these batteries represents a cell. So I have 12 of them here. Just trust me on that. All right. And 1P just means this is going to be one row of 12 cells. So let's see if I don't look foolish and these won't take off on me and roll away. But basically, come on, guys. We talked about this. Stop fooling around. So that's all we're doing in series. 12S means 12 cells in series. Series are positive to negative, positive to negative, positive to negative. You get the idea. Okay, so there we have it. Now you can see all 12 of them. Well, great. That looks nothing like our battery module here. So this is sort of the natural design. However, they have to get this in a box of this size. There are space limitations. So what the engineers do, I will show you now, is they will simply start zigzagging these back and forth, okay? Positive, negative, positive, negative, okay? But don't let this fool you when we go back and forth like this, that this is something like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6p. It is not, okay? You're just going to have to trust me on that, and I'll explain that in a second. This design is still 12S1P. It just shoves them in a box because they are always positive um, uh, to negative, positive to negative, and they're never positive to positive, positive to positive, positive to positive. Okay, so this is our positive here, and this is our positive represented right here. Okay, then it goes to its negative here, jumps the bus bar to a positive, continues on to a negative. Then we go this way. We jump this bus bar to the negative, then negative to positive across the bus bar and over, and then up and over, up and over, up and over. But it's always positive to negative, positive to negative, positive to negative. Okay, I want to introduce a new section to these videos called Food for Thought and run something by you guys. First of all, thank you so much for suffering through these boring videos and getting to this far and to this part. So something that I preach is that there are less moving parts in electric vehicles, hybrids aside, 100% electric. There's less moving parts, there are less components, and it does seem like such an uh, daunting task to learn all this. And you find yourself at the foothills of this steep mountain of knowledge you need to climb in order to do an EV conversion. But let me share something with you, okay? Uh, Again, it's time for one of Gregisms and one of my silly analogies. So here we are. You're thinking, man, I just want to convert my Mustang to electric, my Honda Element to electric, my something something Volvo to electric. And here you are talking this 16S 1P, 2S 2P, 12S 1P nonsense. Why do we need to know this? What the hell are you talking about? There's so much to electric cars, you just want to quit. Okay, I'll play along. Arguably, the world's most popular V8, well, here in the States, so in the States, not the world, is this something called the Chevy small block, the infamous SBC. When I say Chevy small block, a lot of people in their mind have the 350 or 350 cubic inches, okay? 350 cubic inches. We also call it the 5.7 liter because in 1975 we started converting to the metric system, and now half a century later we're still converting, but hey, you can't rush perfection. So the fact that these sizes can go by two different specs, whether it's cubic inches or liters aside, what I want to bring to your attention is bore and stroke of ICE, internal combustion engines. The famous Chevy small block, the 350, has a bore of 4 inches. So for those of you who've never opened up an engine, okay, notice we're saying engine properly when we're talking about gasoline or diesel powered uh, make your car move machines, and then motors are electric motors. So the Chevy small block is not a motor, despite everybody in the States calling it a motor. It's an engine, but now I'm preaching. So it has a bore of 4 inches. That's the hole. It has 8 of these round holes in the engine called bores. It's 4 inches, and the stroke is 3.48. Okay, what does that have to do with the price of tea in China, you ask? Well, here we are dealing with the whole 2S, 2P, like in the Nissan Leaf modules, okay? 2S, 2P is the series and parallel. Well, bore and stroke, bore and stroke. Okay, so here's more info. The Chevy small block starts out as a 262 cubic inch or 4.3 liter. So I already threw some specs at you. Okay. Bore 3.6, stroke 3.1. Okay. Then a little bit more famous than the 262, still a Chevy small block, 283. That one was around for a long time, 4.6 liter. Bore of 3.875, stroke of 3.1 inches. Okay, those bore and stroke here are in inches. Then there was a 302, not the famous Ford 302, the Chevy 302, 4.9 liter, these guys call it. Ford calls them 5.0s. Whatever. Bore of 4 inches, stroke of 3 inches. Okay, then there was a shitty 305, a 307. Those had even different bore and stroke and bore and stroke. Then the famous, really desirable 327, 5.4 liter, bore of 4 inches, stroke of 3.25, so a shorter stroke. And believe it or not, there's actually a 400 cubic inch Chevy small block, 6.6 liter. This thing is a guzzler. A bore of 4.125 and a stroke of 3.75. So you throw these numbers at any dude working in his dirt floor barn rebuilding a Chevy small block, and they're like, yeah, of course it's a 4.0 by 3.25 stroke 327. Everybody knows that. So see how we were conditioned over the last century to just accept all these specs for internal combustion engines, and now we're kind of have reservations about learning a few things about electric cars, which by far still have less moving components and less parts. So that's the analogy I wanted to throw out there at you guys, okay? When we're talking about these cell configurations, and again, you don't have to go this deep, but it helps, and especially it's going to help you when you get to the part when it comes to implementing BMS, a battery management system. So we are at the foot of that mountain of knowledge for EV conversions, and you can get into it as much or as little as you want. You can just watch these videos for entertainment purposes, help you fall asleep, whatever. But I wanted to throw that out there and share with you that we accepted over 100 years of engine development, all these specs, and I'm just scratching the surface with this bore and stroke. We're not talking about camshafts, you know, for all of us here in the States who believe engines have underhead cams, if you will. There's duration and lift and what have you. There's valve sizes and spring tension compression for the valves, all kinds of specs, okay? And here I'm just throwing out at you, you know, series and parallel configurations. Okay, I'm going to begin descending down off of my soapbox, and I want to leave you with some extra info. So the BMW i3, which I'm recently discovering, that was around from 2014 to 2021, okay, 7-8 year run type of thing, is a good car for EV parts, for your EV conversion. I want to share with you what I think we can get out of it. Correct me if I'm wrong. So obviously we can get the batteries out of it, but we can also use the little motor that could out of the BMW i3. I believe on Open Inverter we have a replacement logic board that we can replace in the inverter and make that work outside of the OEM i3. I don't know if we can use the battery charger or the DC-DC converter. So put down in the comments if any one of you are using the charger out of an i3. And I want to leave you with 2 links. Check the description. So Johnny 5 is a gentleman who has converted his Toyota Hilux, I don't know how you say that, truck to electric, and he is using 8 of these modules. He's actually using the entire battery pack from an i3, and he was able to fit that between the frame rails of his truck. So I'll have a link to his description. He works for EV West, so he's an incredibly sharp guy, and watch his videos and see what you can learn from him. And of course, Mr. Damien McGuire of EV BMW fame. I will post some links to him attempting to reverse engineer the BMW i3 motor. He did this now about 7 years ago.
Hello folks, and welcome back one more time to our BMW i3 motor adventure. And I'm very pleased to announce that we have some very good success to report today.
Hey, I'm late to the party too, so don't feel bad if you're late. We are all jumping on this train that has already left the station, but that's okay. We'll just jump on board and pick it up from there. So thanks for watching, guys. I'm going to continue bringing you a different module every week until I run out of money.